You always want to make sure that your partner has your own identity and has a life that's going for them, that where they can sustain themselves, take care of themselves, have their own goals and accomplishments and social support network outside of you. Otherwise, they may take over your identity and you will regret it. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And one of the things that tends to happen when we fall in love, you know, we are just so smitten with the idea, and we may not necessarily look for the red flags, or the red flags may not necessarily show themselves, or we just may be feeling good about the interactions that we're having. And one of the things that people tend to do is they tend to mirror the person that they are pursuing, so that their interests, so that your interests then become their interests. And so many years ago, it's probably been about 4 years ago now, I did a murder crime documentary, a television documentary on Gabby Petito. It's on Tubi. It's been on Tubi for years. And so, when I analyzed the case, one of the things I said, one of the things I noticed about their relationship was, they're both white, both young, and she was a young girl. She was very ambitious, and she wanted to, from my recollection, she wanted to do van life, van living, and so she planned for that, right? And then when she got with the guy, Brian, and I'm being as respectful as possible for both families. When she got with the guy, Brian, his ambitions then became, her ambitions then became his ambitions. So she wanted to do van life, he wanted to do van life. And so they began seeing each other. However, the difference is that she had planned for this. This was a long-term goal of hers, and she had planned. So she had worked like 2 or 3 jobs and had saved up to kind of do this thing. And so they got together, and he proposed. And, one of the things that I noticed immediately, and I was the first person to call it out, was that he didn't give her a ring. Now she's young, white, she's an influencer. First thing an influencer wants to do is show off that pretty little ring, flex for the gram, TikTok, whatever else, other platforms. So it was interesting that she didn't have that. And not to mention, that's usually the standard in America. Unless you kind of go into it without having that, then that might be one thing, but it doesn't appear culturally that was her jam. So there was that, and then she wanted to do van life, and then he sort of tagged along with her for her dream. So, she wanted it all, and not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but here was a guy who's promising her everything but could not deliver, but he's telling her, yes, 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 I want this dream too, but he's not doing the necessary work behind the screen to actually prepare for this dream. So if you want to do van life, you want to live off grid, usually people prepare for that years ahead of time, and kind of do all that. And that did not appear, at least from what I was given. I could be wrong, but at least from the documentation that I was given in order to prepare to do, the television documentary. And so that is something that I see quite a bit from women. A lot of times women are very ambitious, very smart, very lovely people, and they have these dreams and these goals, and they squirrel away and they do everything they want to do in order to make these goals and dreams happen. But then they meet someone who mirrors them and gives them that lip service and says, yes, I want this too, but they very seldom have the discipline or do the work it takes to accomplish that. Not only that, but you have to shrink yourself and make yourself smaller to now accommodate this person who has not done the work and just sort of wants to mooch off of your dreams and all of your preparations. They want to mooch off of, they want to ride that wave with you when that wave is ready to go. Right? So they're literally climbing on your back and hanging on, and that's a survival mechanism for them. That's what people do when they don't ever intend on putting in effort or doing the work. But those people that don't ever do that make you have to shrink yourself, so much so that you will walk around saying that you're engaged and going against other things and the ways that you want to be proposed to and the ways that you want to be treated with no ring, right? And so that's something that you want to think about. And there's other ways in which this shows up, and I'm just using that case as an example, respectfully, of course, to both families. I bring that case up because, he was accused and found guilty of killing Gabrielle Petito. And so that's why I bring that case up, is that at some point, things are going to really catch up and they're going to be very, very misaligned. And that person that's sort of riding that wave with you is going to, the mask is going to slip down. And so that's something you want to be careful. You want to be careful never to prop someone up. You want to be careful never to shrink yourself in order to make the puzzle piece fit in terms of a relationship, because that it will not, and you will be sorry. And you don't have to tell Dr. Jones about it, but trust and believe there will come a day when you are sorry. You may suffer in silence or you may suffer loudly, but it just all depends on the situation. And there's other instances of women doing this too, right? Like, I remember Love and Hip Hop way back in the day. Erica was dating a guy, I forget what his name was. But Erica, Scrappy's baby mother, on that show, she was dating a guy. They were in a relationship. She had allegedly, moved on from Scrappy and was now dating this guy. And they went out to eat, and the relationship was all love, and it was all this and all that. And they went out to eat, and he couldn't pay for it. And so she had to slip him her card or something to that effect. But ultimately, what ended up happening was she ended up paying for it. And so that's also something that happens behind the scenes too with a lot of women, is that they are pretending to have this relationship, this great relationship where they have a partner that shows up for them and then and this and that and the other thing, but really they're having to prop that person up and slide them money and everything else from the back to make it appear as though their partner is doing all the things, when really that woman is still the one leading that relationship, still the one paying and doing everything for that relationship. So you want to be careful with that. If they don't have their goals, and you have to take time to suss this out. It's not something that you can suss out immediately, even with people who may be established. They may have a professional career. Sometimes if they get with somebody else and you got it going on, people will pivot and drop out of their career. And we've seen that on quite a few of these reality shows with these wives, where these husbands just fall off and, just ride the wave of their wife. And they'll ride that wave and they'll take all the benefits that come with it, but they will be fighting. They'll be angry and nasty behind the scenes with a woman, and they'll be very, very resentful, and that can lead to a lot of other things, nasty things being said, affairs, and the like. So just be careful with that. Hope that helps. Thanks so much.